So this is the dress shape that I'm going for. I'm going to make like a silky inspired dress out of, I have a bunch of organza that I had gotten in an auction a while ago, so I want to try to use some of the fabric that I have. So I want to make like a really poofy, short, like silky inspired dress. So it's going to have a center front, a side front, and then like a side back. Or well, actually just a back piece. I'm going to make the back piece just one. So I'm going to show you how I draft the bodice. This skirt, I don't think I need to draft it. I think I'm just going to make it as a rectangle, and then it'll be gathered up. So it's really just going to be like a long rectangle with a lot of fabric in it. I'm going to run a gathering stitch, and then it's going to be scrunched up and then sewn to the bodice. So I don't really need a pattern for that, and I just kind of do it as I go when I sew. I don't like do the full prep work before I'm finished. And I usually, well, I guess it depends on what I'm making, but I usually don't like use a pattern when I'm making skirts because they're pretty simple. Sometimes I do, it just kind of depends. But I actually will be also making a poofy sleeve. So like, it'll be gathered here, scrunched up, and then like attached to the dress under the arm. And then like come up over the shoulder to be a poofy dress. So I'm gonna just really quick show you how I would draft this bodice, and then the bodice is like the base of the dress. And then you just like gather up and scrunch up a rectangle skirt to it, so it's pretty simple. I don't need a pattern for the skirt, just the bodice. So this is what I'm going to show you how to make based on your measurements. Don't use my measurements because we're probably not the same. Yeah, so I'm going to show you how I draft my patterns. Okay, so in my last video, I was asked about how I learned to do pattern drafting, and it's just kind of, I don't know, kind of picking it up from sewing and learning and reading and researching and stuff. I don't know if there's any one like source that I've really learned from. It's just, I don't know, just kind of figuring it out. So I figured since I'm going to be drafting a pattern for this project, so you can't really see my face. But anyways, I figured I'd show you how I draft this pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a silky style dress. So we're going to have a bodice with princess seams, and it's going to be made as a pattern that would be strapless, but I am going to add puff sleeves. So to start out making the pattern, if you want me to draft patterns of what I'm making before and show it, like, I guess let me know. So basically I'm going to start with a vertical line. So this line will be my center front. So like the center front area here. So we're going to mark points on the pattern of where the bust will be and the waist. Corresponding from my measurements, you would use your own measurements. So I'm gonna go ahead and, so I want the dress to like go about this high to cover my bust. So I can't crouch down when I measure this, so I'm gonna kind of sit up on my knees. I'm measuring from over my bust where I want the top of the dress to be for the neckline, and I'm measuring down to my waist. So I'm just kind of feeling for the crease part, and that'll be basically sort of the length of the bodice, although it'll be somewhat empire waistline eventually. So from the bust to the waist is about 13.5 inches. So for the top of the bust, I'm just going to, one of my hairs. So for the top of the bust, I am going to just mark a point, and I'm going to put like neckline. And then 13.5 inches down will be my waist. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.5 will be right here. So this would be my waistline. Alright, and then I need to measure down. So from the top of that neckline to I guess like the peak of my bust where it sticks out the most, that'll be like the bust point. So that is like 5.5 inches from the top of the neckline. So I'm gonna go 5.5 inches, 1, 2, 4, 5.5. So this would be my full bust. So full bust. I have those points marked out. Now this isn't, a lot of the silky dresses don't actually go to the natural waist. A lot of them are more empire, so I might just make the bodice shorter. So I need to measure, then actually shorten it. So like from the peak of my bust, I'm gonna measure from there to like the under bust measurement. So just under the bust, that's about 5.5 inches. I do have a large bust, so I need a lot of area to cover all of that. So this is a half, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm probably going to kind of end the pattern here, maybe. And of course it'll probably be adjusted as we go. So now I'm going to do some of the width measurements. Maybe I should just post this video like by itself for like how I draft, because you can figure out how to make a lot of things if you just kind of mark the points on where your bust and neckline and waist are and kind of figure out what kind of shape you're going for. So you can kind of figure out any, like basically any pattern that you want to make from doing it this way. So I'm going to measure my front bust measurement, so along the widest point where it sticks out the most. I'm measuring to my side, about the middle of like where under the armpit is. So I'm measuring across there from side to side, trying to keep my measuring tape there. So I think for me it's about, alright, like 23.5 across, about. So that will be like the full, at the full bust line. So we actually aren't doing the full thing, we're going to do that in half. So we're having that measurement so that we're drafting only half of the pattern. And then it can be cut on the center fold so that the other side is mirrored when you cut your fabric and pattern and everything. So I'm gonna have that measurement that I took across my bust. Alright, so of course if you're making this you would use your own measurements, but from the bust point I'm going to go out 11.5 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.5. So this is like the squared out measurements of what my pattern would be for the front half of the dress. So kind of this square of marking out points for the pattern piece. So this is the front to side block, and I am going to make a princess seam in this. So from the center of my bust here, I'm going to measure to the point of about like the peak of my bust. So to figure out where I'm going to put that princess seam, this is where I'm measuring, which kind of ends up at this cat face. So from my center front to the point of where it would be about the peak of the bust is about 3 inches. So let's see, 1, 2, 3. That's right here. So this is about where my seam will be. I might move it over just a tiny bit, like right here. So it's a little bit to the side. But anyway, so this is how I'm going to split the pattern piece into 2 pieces. So this is going to be the center front piece, and you will cut this on fold. Cut on fold of a fabric piece. And then we're going to make this the side front piece right here. Now we've been using the full bust measurements for this, so we are going to take a little bit out to make the princess seams and make it come in under the bust. So I've been doing my full bust measurement for across here, but we're going to take some out down here. So we need the difference between the full bust and then like your under bust area, which is where the dress will be sitting at the smallest point. So I got a message. So I'm going to figure out how much smaller, or in some dress patterns you would use a dart to take out the fabric to make it taper down at your waist and under bust area. But I'm actually going to take that excess out in the princess seam area. So that's how we're getting the shaping. So I'm gonna actually measure underneath here at the sides and get that measurement, and then I'm going to have it. Alright, so half of my measurement is about 9.7. So we end up needing like 9.7 inches to like cover this area, but you don't want to make it too small. Like, it's okay for it to be like a little bit loose. So we do need 9.7, about right there, to be able to cover around your torso. So I could take out about 9.7. So I could do a dart and take out about an inch or so, I guess. So I'm going to take out about an inch of this to make the pattern kind of taper. So this is the full bust, and we're just going to kind of create a dart shape, but this dart shape is not going to be included in our pattern. It's just, this is going to be one piece, the center front piece, and this is going to be the side front piece. And then we do actually need this to kind of come down a little bit for the armpit area. So okay, I have the top of the bodice being about right here. So I need to see how far down I need it to go for my armpit, because it'll be a little bit higher here, and then we need to make it curve down. So I think I had it start about here to cover. So the measurement from the peak of my bust over to the side is like 8.5 inches. So let's see. Alright, so I think we can make this go down like kind of like that. That should be to the side 9. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I think at this point is what we'll keep for the armpit area. And then this is going to be our pattern. So this is my basic pattern for my center front piece and my side front piece. this is what I drafted using my measurements, and you can kind of sort of figure out, I mean, you might have to adjust things, but you could just test this out as it is and figure where you need to adjust it out as you go. So I'm just drafting based on like my measurements. You do need to add seam allowance, so I like to draft my patterns out without seam allowance in them, and then I add that when I cut out the fabric. Yeah, so that's basically how I make my patterns. Now I do need to make the back, so I'm going to do that now. Alright, so on my pattern pieces here, I wrote side front, and then this is the center front piece. So my pattern pieces are labeled. Now I'm going to be drafting out the back. So I'm just gonna say we're gonna start just right alongside what we've already drafted. This is going to be my center back. And then there will be a zipper that goes in the back, so we need to figure out those measurements. Now I'm probably gonna go down here and measure where this is where my waistline is, but it might be slightly different from my back, so I'm going to take measurements from where my waist is, like around the back, and measure out to how far up I want the dress to be on my back. Alright, so I kind of started this a bit. I do need to measure from my center back. I don't know if I can really show that. So the center of my back, not that you can really see, to my side here. So I'm going to get the measurement of like where my spine is at the center back all the way around to the side. And for that I got 9 inches. So I'm going to go over 9 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this is going to end up being our back piece. So the bodice of this dress is going to take 3 pattern pieces. Oh, you know what? I'm actually going to make this side my center back, because the armhole is right here and I can kind of continue it here. Well, it's not like an armhole. I'm making this as if it's a strapless dress, but yeah. So the pattern is something like this, and I might need to adjust it after it's like cut out to see if I need to add anything here or there or change the shape a little bit, but it just kind of depends on how it fits when you try it out. So I guess I would need to take a little bit in lower. So I don't think there needs to be a lot of shaping, but I'm going to measure at the top side to the center back and check that measurement. This one was 10 inches actually. Let's go ahead and do this. And then to add more shaping to the dress, I might actually, should I take it there, or do I do like a dart thing? I'm just kind of figuring out how I want the pattern to go. I think I'm going to add shaping to the back piece by just kind of slanting this here. So this is, well, actually I should probably like that. So this is going to be like my basic pattern shape, and it's not always going to be like perfect, but this is kind of like my process of making a pattern, and then I kind of tweak it as I go. So now I'm going to cut out my bodice, back. I also want to mention that I don't necessarily know what I'm doing. I've never taken a pattern making class. I've never gone to school for making clothing or pattern drafting, so this is just kind of what I make on my own and figured out. I probably will like adjust these pieces a bit, but this is what I've got right now. And then I'm going to kind of put the pieces against my body and show you what it kind of should look like. Okay, so there is one thing that I haven't done, which I'm going to do as well. So, we have the bust area here, still at like the full bust measurement, but if you wear a strapless dress that goes over your bust, this section is going to curve in, meaning it's going to be a smaller circumference than at the full bust. So at the top of the dress, to kind of curve over your body, you're going to need to take some fabric out up here. So to have this curve around the bust, I'm going to just do something like this and something like this. And we're going to just kind of make that shape of taking some excess out so it kind of cups over. And so this is what I've come up with doing. So these will be sewn together, and the curve should kind of make it cup around. I wonder if I should make a little fabric model that I tape together, but if you kind of see how that works, kind of brings it in at the top to cup over the bust and fit over. So I'm going to see if I think these will work now. I'm not really showing my face because I just took a shower and my hair is drying and stuff, but hi. So I know I'm wearing a baggy t-shirt, so it kind of is hard to see what is going on, but I'm going to show you, check and see if it looks like my pattern pieces should work. So center front, so this is how the bodice will work. So I'm making this like a strapless dress pattern. So I've actually made the bodice too long. I'm probably going to cut off excess at the bottom because this is going to be more of like an empire waist dress that fits at the top of the bust area and then poofs out later. So I have this at my center front. It looks like it goes around to where I want it to. And again, this is without seam allowance, so seam allowance will be added for assembling the pieces together. And then these pieces would be sewn together and fit in. So there's a curve there, but I think this actually goes to my side seam, so I think this pattern piece will work. I know the shirt's baggy, but it goes to like my side. So I think these pieces are going to work really nicely for me. Alright, and then for the back piece, it's a little bit hard to kind of test the fit of the back piece, but so this would start at my side, like right there, and then I think I probably need to make this curve go a little farther but let's see. Here's the center back. I think I just ripped it, but it feels like it's hitting where my spine is here. So I think I probably should have worn something more form-fitting, but I feel like this covers where I need it to. I think a change I need to make is maybe start the curve for the underarm like here and curve it in just a little bit more, maybe, but maybe, yeah, like I think this works. That's like the center of my back that it's hitting. So I think that this is a good fit. I look so great today. But anyways, this is my explanation of how I draft patterns, and then just make the basic pieces, and then just kind of check if it looks like it's hitting where I need it to on the body. So, yeah, so this is how I draft my patterns. I don't have like a concise formula. I just kind of take my measurements and I plot those measurements out on a like flat 1-inch grid, like Christmas wrapping paper that has the 1-inch grid on it. I think that's super helpful for making patterns, but that's how I do it. Okay, bye.